Welcome to the Profits in Pajamas podcast. I'm Danielle D, or Coach Danni D, and I help women to create luxury brands by creating processes and tightening their branding. This is where we talk about how to build your business in a way that allows you to work with ease and enjoy your life. My happy space is spending as much time as humanly possible in my pajamas, and I want to help others to find their happy space while still running profitable businesses. So get comfortable and let's dig in. Hello and welcome to the Profits in Pajamas podcast. I am your host, Coach Danni D. Always here helping my clients and my listeners work with ease. Today, we have a very special guest. We have Miss Sheila Burkhalter. And I'm going to give you a brief bio about her, but I want to get right in. I was introduced to her by Dr. Renika Briscoe, and she was a previous guest, so y'all go back and check out her episode. But she introduced us. We became fast friends. Like, I just need y'all to know this person. Y'all know I always bring the best people to, just ignite us and get us in a space where we are living our best lives. We're doing successful things and we're having that balance. So Sheila Higgs, or say your nickname for me. Shiggs?
Shiggs. So
Shiggs. You
Sheila
can see
Higgs
it.
Burkhalter, and people call me Shiggs because that's much easier.
Yeah, so I see it in the background, and maybe, and that's, I kind of abbreviated to Coach Danni D because the T is, it's one of those mouthfuls.
Yes.
So she is a best-selling author, speaker, and a certified executive and leadership transition coach with 30 years experience in higher education. She has organized the NSAPA. Is there a little name for that?
Yeah, so NASPA, which is our
NASPA.
National Association for Higher Education Administrators.
Okay. And as a pillar of the profession for her impact contributions in student affairs. Shriggs coaches with a focus on heart-centered leadership, values, and energy. And y'all gonna love her energy, I promise you. And leading with heart. So I want to welcome you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I'm so excited to see you.
I am so excited as well. Like, just beautiful, beautiful energy. So I want to get started. I want you to tell everybody about your entrepreneurial journey because I love to listen to people's story, but two, having heard your story, it just is beautiful and inspiring for people who are out there starting their journey or who are in the middle of their journey.
Awesome. Thank you for the opportunity, first of all. So excited. It has taken us a while because life happens, but here we are about to have this wonderful conversation. And I call myself an accidental entrepreneur. I did not necessarily intend to launch a business. During the COVID years, decided to pursue a coaching certification. And in the process of pursuing that certification, we had to do these complimentary sessions to learn how to pitch coaching to potential clients. And so I'm a bit of an overachiever. And so they said, you have to do 10 of these. I said, let me do 20 and we'll see what happens because I want to be the best whenever I'm doing something. In the process of doing these, after I did one, that person said, this sounds wonderful. Can you please send me your contract? And this guy was a CFO. And I thought to myself, well, I probably need to go ahead and sign this guy, but I didn't have a contract. I didn't have a way to take payments. I didn't have a scheduling system. But what I had was a client or potential client with a need. And so I thought to myself, well, you know what? We can work out all the rest of these details. And so I started out with a Google Calendar. And then I was still in my coaching program and we had something called the Student Hub. And I remember them saying the Student Hub has sample contracts. And so I went in and found a contract. I didn't even have a name of my business. And I thought, well, everybody calls you Shigs. If you go ahead and add the B for Burkhalter, you can just be Shiggs B, and that'll be the name of your business. And so that's literally how my business was born. It's been almost 4 years ago now. Actually, I guess a little over 4 years now that I've been doing this, and it's been very exciting. And it has become both. So now I coach and they're speaking, and out of that also came, the authorship of a couple of chapters and a couple of books, and they're both bestsellers. And out of that has also come a retreat, and me keynoting several retreats and several conferences, and the rest, as they say, is history in a lot of ways.
I love that for several reasons. I am a two-time accidental entrepreneur. So I totally get the, like, I did not wake up with this in mind, but it
Yes.
just kind of happened. But what I love about your story is we've all been faced with that situation where somebody asked us for something that we
Hmm.
weren't selling, right? That we
Yes.
were just like minding our own business. And this person is like, where do I buy this?
Yes.
And I love the fact that you jumped into action
Yes.
and didn't let that hinder you, because oftentimes we either retreat
Hmm.
and just say, I know some of us would have said, and we've all at some time done this, like, I don't do that,
Yes.
and left that opportunity on the table,
Hmm.
or gotten stuck. Well, I don't have the resources, and just to have that forward mind of, no, wait, I totally do have these resources.
Yes.
Like, I'm going to figure this thing out.
Absolutely.
And
Yes.
I
Yes.
absolutely love that. And I think that was the crux of our initial conversation, was around action. So
Hmm.
I know you shared that story. You kind of answered this question already a little bit, but how has intentional action shaped your success?
Yeah, I would tell you that I'm a person who has a bias toward action. I'm not one who typically says, "Oh, I can't do that," or "There's no plan. I just kind of figure it out." And what I often say to people is, and I say this to clients, you don't have to know every step you're going to take. You just need to make the best next step that you can. And so that's exactly what I did with this business. I didn't have a website for over a year because I didn't really need one. Everybody was coming to me by referral. When I needed one, I sat down at my computer. I'd already bought the domain. And so, again, you have to have some kind of insight into, well, there might be a future that I envision for myself. So I'd already bought the domain, but I'd done nothing with it. And then I realized, oh, I have this speaking engagement on a national scale. I probably need a website for people to come and find me. And so I sat down, I connected that website to, you know, some I don't even remember the platform now, but there's this platform, and it was very easy, and I connected it to that and paid my little money, and then before the weekend was over, I built a website. I had photography, I have writing skills, I knew what services I was offering. At that point, I had a calendaring system, I had a way to take payment, and so I just kind of put it all together in one place. And so in terms of how has intentional action shaped my success, it's involved in everything that I do, really. In terms of that business, every bit of it was intentional action that made me more successful. So after I had this first client who decided to sign on with me, then I thought to myself, okay, other people might want this. So we're going to start out with the Google Calendar, which is easy when somebody wants to schedule, week to week, but it's more complicated if they want to mix up their schedule. And so I had literally seen colleagues using something called Calendly, and I thought, and it's free, let me use that. Or how am I going to meet with these people? We were doing a lot by phone, but the world was going to Zoom. And so you had a free Zoom account that you could get. So I was like, well, let me get myself a free Zoom account. And so just continue to do things to think about how can I best serve my clients and how can I be most accessible to them. And in the process, built these systems and structures that now continue to serve me in ways that I never anticipated. And so what I would say to people, if you don't know what to do, then take the next best step for you and then trust the process as it unfolds. Even the speaking and the writing of the book chapters, all of it came from this notion of intentional action. Like I was in the coaching community and somebody put something in the coaching community and said, we're thinking about doing an anthology of women's stories. And I thought to myself, well, I've always been curious about book publishing. It was on every one of my vision boards for several years, but I'd never really done a lot with it except for one publication in the higher education space. And I was like, well, let's do something outside of the higher education space. Let me show up for this meeting. Cost me nothing to give a little bit of my time to learn about this process. Out of that has come three best-selling books, two of which I'm in,
Yes.
one of which I'm mentoring people in. A fourth book is in recruitment. And then out of those books came the speaking engagements. And it just has kind of just spiraled. And again, it came from me saying yes and well, meeting the moment, really.
I love it. I love it. I hear two things. I hear, of course, the intentional action, but also strategic action.
Yes.
Because, like you said, you didn't have a website for a year.
Hmm.
And, of course, as a business coach, I preach to people to have a website, but
Yes.
also sometimes we get caught up in what
Hmm.
I call busy work.
Yes.
And it's distracting from the actual action that we need to be taking. And it's, ultimately a fear-driven thing, right? We
Yes.
don't see it as that because we're working, right?
Hmm.
We're building this website, or we might be on that, you know, fourth, fifth redo
Hmm.
of a functioning website, right? But not taking that intentional action that's getting us a step further.
Yes.
Um, I often say perfection is a form of procrastination.
It sure is. Yes, it is.
We will sit there and we will tweak this thing to death. But when we know this one thing over here is sitting there and we need to be doing that thing. And I love how you've just honed in on what's that next thing and not being afraid to jump into something new and something different. Like
Mhm.
that's how we learn, that's how we grow, and that's how we diversify ourselves, in the business space. Um, I absolutely love that. And it kind of rolls into the next question is, how has being nimble helped you to grow your business?
Yes, and I'm going to cover that for you in just a second, but I want to challenge something you said that not being afraid. Often I'm terrified to do things. And I think it's important that we who seem like we're very successful, that it's important that we name that because people think that we're fearless. And there are
Oh
some things
no.
that I'm fearless in, right?
Look,
There's some
oh
things
no.
that you're fearless in. But the reality is, every time we take a leap, right, to do something
Yeah.
big,
Yes.
people assume they're fearless. No, we are scared and we do it anyway. We
Absolutely.
fear failure and we do it anyway. Sometimes we fear too much success and we do it anyway. And so what I say to people is fear is a natural emotion that crops up for all of us. And
Yes.
often that fear is holding us back from making a mistake or stepping into foreign territory, places we never been, because the body is naturally designed to hold us back from doing things that could put us in danger.
Right.
And so some people lean into that. And for me, I acknowledge that it is there. And then I go ahead and do whatever I need to do anyway, knowing that it may not be perfect, but progress will have been made in the process. And so I think that is an important distinction for us to name because, again, coach, they look at people like you and and they'll
Right.
be like, oh, everything they touch turns to gold. And that might well look that way, but you and I know with all the successes
Mm-mm.
that we have, there are failures too, and there are fears that come up in all of those situations. And so that's a part of anybody's entrepreneurial journey. And for as much as I've been successful and some things have looked easy or intuitive, you still have to push past fears. You still have to, like, to put my story out in the first book was the most nerve wracking thing I'd ever done. Like, but You
Yes.
can't take it back. It's in print.
It's out there.
People are gonna see it, they're gonna buy it, and then they're gonna wanna talk about it in greater detail. So I just wanna name the fact that fear is a very real thing. Now your question is, how has being
Well,
nimble
I
helped
want to
me to
jump in before
Oh,
you
please
move
do.
forward
Yes.
because I appreciate you pointing that out because I totally agree with you on that because
Yes.
I hate when people say fearless.
Mhm.
I absolutely hate it because if you understood the
Oh my gosh.
internal of what's going on, and I totally agree with you, it's just choosing to push past it, right?
Yes.
And I made a promise to myself, I want to say about 7 years ago. Time has lost meaning after COVID, but I want to say about 7 years ago that if the only reason I'm not doing something is fear, then
Yes.
I have to do it.
You have to do it.
And that has been the best and sometimes the most regretting promise that I've made to myself.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, we doing what now? Like, what is it that we are doing? How
Yes.
did we get here? But I do want to, like, I just wanted to sit for another moment in that thought
Mhm.
because I do believe a lot of people look at other people and think, I'm so terrified. And they are like, just fearless. There is no such thing.
Yes.
Like fear is tied in. I give all my emotions personality. Her only job really is to keep you from dying, right?
Mm.
But she oversteps.
Yes. Yes.
She that one friend that got an opinion on everything. She
Everything.
oversteps. And you have to kind of put her back in her place. Girl,
Mhm.
are we gonna die? Yes or no? We not okay. We going forward.
Exactly. Well, and I love that you said that you personified it because what I talk with clients about, so we often call that the gremlin, and the gremlin that's telling you that, to be scared or that you're not good enough to do
Hmm.
something. And all of it is based in fear. And I always tell them you need to name it. You need to give that gremlin a name and then call it by name and address it specifically when you want to address something because and then give them a new role. Like give your gremlin a new role. Your gremlin thinks, I'm trying to protect this person from getting into danger or getting into trouble. And so what I say to my gremlin when it pops up, I appreciate that you're trying to protect me. I am not in need of your protection. What I
Right.
need right now is a cheerleader.
Right.
I
Go
need you
sit,
telling
look,
me, you got
sit
it,
in the back.
girl.
Sit in the back.
Exactly. Exactly. So if you're
You
gonna
have
be
no
here,
voting privileges here. You
that's right.
you
That's
are
right.
on the advisory board. Sit in the
Yes.
back and put your finger on your lip. Now, when we get ready to do something that's going to involve life or death decisions, it's all you.
Then come in the room, right?
It's
Yes.
all you. But until then, you are
Have a
not
seat.
you're not steering this ship. And I love how you said about naming it and, because for me, having that emotional awareness and being able to name it also takes the legs from up under it.
Yes, absolutely. Yep, it does.
Because look, me and anxiety, we got a love-hate relationship. And but I when I know that that's what's happening, I can say,
Mhm.
girl,
Yes,
you know what? Be quiet. And I have to, I know to shut her up, I have to start doing something because once I start working, then my mind no longer thinks this can't happen because I'm in the middle of doing it.
exactly. That's exactly right. I tell the actually told students this story during convocation this year about being on a mountain in Peru and literally almost hyperventilating. And the student who was with me at the time said, Shigs, breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. You're about to hyperventilate. And I thought, and I named it on the side of this mountain, almost 3,000 vertical feet in the air. And I said, you know what? I'm not even out of breath. And I literally stopped breathing hard. I said, I'm not even out of breath. I said, I am freaked out. Like, I have moved from this is exciting to climb this mountain to I am terrified. What am I thinking? What am I doing on the side of a mountain in Peru without any equipment, without, there's nothing between me and this space and sky. I could sneeze wrong and tip off the side of this mountain. Somebody could bump me and I could end up on the ground below. And I was freaking out because fear and anxiety had totally overtaken me in that moment. So the moment I named it out loud, then it centered me because I realized, okay, here's what's happening with you. And then as the stress started to release from you, I'm like, okay, now you can see the full range of possibilities in front of you. You can either keep going forward with your students and this guide who is here specifically to get you to your next destination. Or your other choice is to turn back around and go down this mountain by yourself with no support. But either way, your legs and your agency is going to take you either up this mountain or down this mountain. And eventually, no matter where you go, you got to go back down this mountain. Do you want to do that alone or you want to do that with your support system in place? And so in my case, I thought, well, first of all, I didn't come all the way to Peru, Machu Picchu, halfway up Picchu, not to get to the top, not to get to the summit. And then secondly, this is going to be a metaphor for something else in my life. So I get to
Mm-hmm.
choose how I want to address this moment. And I decided in that moment, I'm going to be terrified because I was still scared. Let's just be clear.
Mm-hmm.
Those
Look,
things that
look,
downloaded for
I'm
me,
on the ground and I am uncomfortable.
yes, those things were still true. All the things that I thought could go wrong, all of those things were true. Those that set of circumstances had not changed, but my mindset had changed about why it was important for me to do it, why I wanted to go forward, and what awaited me at the end of this journey. And so I pressed on and I did it. And somebody was like, would you do it again? I was like, it's kind of hard to say, but I did it that one time. So if I never do it again, I got the things that I needed to get from that
Right.
experience.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so you
Absolutely.
be scared and do it anyway.
Do
And
it
sometimes you
anyway.
name what is scaring you, and then that gives you an opportunity to really look at it, like hold it in your hands or look at it and really say, okay, what do I want to do with this now that I know what it is? And then you keep moving and you could decide which direction you want to move in. I was still at choice in that moment. And that's the other thing that people don't always think about. You're always at choice. You always have a series of choices in front of you
Yes.
even when you say you have
Absolutely.
no choice.
No, yeah, there's always choices. That's a
Yes,
mindset. That is
absolutely.
definitely a mindset. There always are choices based on what you're willing to believe and act on.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
And that's just the reality of it because there's so many things that if you would have told my, cynical self some years ago, I would have just been like, yeah, no, that's not even a thing. Like that's not possible. And that's reality in this
Yes,
moment. So it really is about, I just love that concept of naming it because that's where the power is. The power that
absolutely.
fear has over you or any other emotion is in the fact that you refuse to name it. And so as long as you refuse to name it, it can still whisper in your ear and tell
Sure
you
can.
all the things that keep you from the things that you really should be doing.
Yes.
And it's, again, like we could talk about because we weren't even really talking about that, but we could talk about so many different things, but a lot of times it boils back down to that fear.
Yes, it does. It truly does.
And she's weaved her way into so many things because we don't ever call her out.
That's right. Yep. It's almost like when you name her, then the curtain she was hiding behind is pulled back and the
Mm-hmm.
light shines in and you can fully see what is in front of you. And sometimes she looks super scary when she's behind the curtain, and then you pull back the curtain, you're like, you're about this big. Like you're this little bitty thing who's screaming loudly at me. And I just need to tell you again, I don't need you in this situation or have a seat, or as you said, we don't need you in the boardroom right now. I'll call on you when I need you next. And so, and again, if people think about it in that way, that when you pull the curtain back and name what it literally loses its power.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's just
Yeah.
it's that confrontation. It's you
Mhm.
confronting it. and saying, you know what, you came in here big and bad, but let's get factual,
Yes.
let's go point by point. You have no point. Like
Yes.
you like
Mhm.
like you have no point. Yes, this might be uncomfortable. And yes, there are some things you may need to consider. And
Yes.
she's good for that too.
Mhm.
Her and anxiety will make you think about some things of what could go wrong.
Yes.
But if you really sit there and think about, one, what is the likelihood that this thing is going to happen?
Mm.
Because it's probably like a million and one. Like, and I know I have a lot of creative followers. That's a trick bag right there, because our brains can come up with some
Yes.
some stuff, some
Yes.
scenarios. It's a whole, my my coach would say, you didn't wrote a whole movie and you playing both parts of it.
Yes.
You
Yes.
acting out everybody's role in this movie. But is that realistic? Like, is this movie a
Mhm.
documentary, or is it a Lifetime movie? Like, what is happening? Like,
Yes.
stuff that you're thinking is like, it's a million and one chance that that's gonna happen.
Agreed. Well, and I always call it disaster fantasizing. And you
I
like, you're
love that.
playing this disaster out, or you're playing out all the ways that it could be a disaster. And so again, a common coaching question is, okay, what's another way to look at this? Because you play out the whole
Absolutely.
disaster. Let's flip the script on that and talk about all the ways that it could work out, all the ways that it could be successful, all the ways that it could be brilliant and glorious. Because your anxiety wants to take you down this downward spiral of, my disaster is imminent. Death is like
Mm-hmm.
right at my doorstep, when in fact, that might be one of the ways it could go wrong, but there's probably, 10 or 12 ways that it could go well. But you're so focused on all the ways that it could go wrong that you haven't even contemplated, even considered the possibility that this thing could work out the way you want it
Absolutely.
to, or maybe even better than you anticipated.
Yes, yes. No, we don't. It's always a horror movie. It's never like, it's true. It's like we gravitate to that negative energy. It's
Yes.
never that I see this being the best thing that could ever have
Hmm.
happened. Or for me, I like to look at, okay, so this thing is probably insanely crazy. It's not going to happen. So let's not
Hmm.
even give any more energy to that thing, right? And then these three or four things are possible. So then, instead of that being my stopping point,
Hmm.
what can I do to counteract those things?
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. What are your strategies?
Right.
Hmm.
So I can plan for that. You know what I'm saying? I can have backup plan. I can have plan A, B, and C
That's
in
right.
place for. So it's just that shift, like, we got here because you were talking about just not want to leave people in that space of, oh, they're fearless. It's
Yes.
also, this is just another insight into how people may appear more action oriented than you are.
Yes.
Is It's a shift in mindset to, how can I?
Indeed. And it's a shift from focusing on the problem to considering the solutions. And it's a nuance of difference, right? Many of us can name all the problems, but when you shift to a solution mindset, then if a problem crops up, then you think about all the ways that you could address that, which means you're being solution focused. And again, it's a subtle shift, and some people don't think about it. Even, talk to my staff members about, I'm okay with you naming the problems. Absolutely. But when you bring them to me, then can you also bring with you solutions, potential solutions to the issue? That way, I'm not the one who's always sitting here trying to address them. And then you're counting on me to do things that your critical thinking could do for you. And you know your area intimately better than I do. And so, again, shifting, it's a mindset shift from problem to solution. And one of them is more, it's higher energy too. A problem focus is really sort of, it's out of my control. I don't have any agency. Oh, woe is me. It's very much black and white kind of thinking. A solution focus requires a level of creativity. It requires you looking at your situation as opportunity as opposed to something that can go badly or something that didn't work out. And so if you can shift your mind from problem to solution to from oh woe is me to gosh, what is the opportunity in this, it will change your everything. And honestly, that is what so many of us are doing who are in this entrepreneurial journey. Instead of thinking about all the ways it can go wrong, we're thinking about all the ways it can go well. And as you just said, in those instances where we're like, well, that probably realistically is something that could happen, then we have action steps ready to go in our tool bag to
Mm-hmm.
attach it if we should find ourselves in that scenario. And it takes just about the same amount of time to play out those strategies as it does to disaster fantasize, maybe less time.
I think even I agree. I think even greater than that though is, to me, the gloom and doom is so heavy.
It is so heavy.
It is so heavy, and it comes from a place of feeling that you don't have control.
Mm, mhm,
And I got
mhm.
control issues, so I can't live there.
Me too.
I had because I'm like, uh, can I suggest, can so I am solution oriented. So it is very hard for me to sit in that place. Like, if
Mhm.
there's a problem, then I have to figure out how to solve that problem. Otherwise, I'm going to be like, that will just eat at me, right?
Yes.
But I think for a lot of people, it's a problem. And then it's a hard time transitioning from problem. It's almost like they ran into a wall.
Mm,
And now they're laying on the floor because they're still in pain from hitting
yes.
that wall.
Mhm.
And something I learned many years ago, I used to work for a serial entrepreneur. And I mean, be honest, he's a little nuts. And so he like had these like big, crazy, wild dreams that where I was just like, say what? Like, you wanna what? Like, but I had to make those things tangible.
Mm,
And in the process, what I learned was the wall is not where you think it is.
mm, mhm.
And so many of us will just sit down, fall down when we see the wall.
Yes.
And there is a wall sometimes, sometimes there is a limit to, a thing. There's a wall, but that wall is so far from where you first saw it.
Mm,
And wait until you run into it.
yes.
Keep going until you literally run into it. And sometimes we think any obstacle is running into it, and it's not. It's just a challenge.
Mhm.
But keep going. It's further than you think, and sometimes it's actually just, like you see in the cartoons in the desert, it's actually a mirage,
It's a
and it's not.
mirage or whatever it was, disappeared in the process,
Right, because
right?
your solutions
Mhm.
created something different. So maybe there is a wall that way, but maybe if you turn left.
That part. Yes, yes. So I talk about, and I think I shared this with you at some point that I'm an energy leadership coach. And so level one energy is feeling like things are outside of your control. And in some ways, it's been labeled over the years as a victim perspective, as in, I don't have any control or agency over this situation. And it's almost like having your feet stuck in quicksand. And the reason why it's a lower level of energy is because your focus is on your feet. It's focused on the mud. It's focused on instead of looking outward and upward. And so let's talk about those higher levels of energy, like having wings. It doesn't
Mhm.
mean that the quicksand or the mud or whatever's down below you isn't still there. It is still there, but because your head is up and you're looking out and around you, you can see a full range of possibilities around you because your focus isn't on what's causing you stress. Your focus is on the possibilities. And then when you think about possibilities, then you're able to be more creative because you're coming from a place of agency. And so you're looking outward. And so when I'm coaching clients around this, I said, you can continue to focus on the thing that is causing you stress, or you can think about where it is you're trying to get to and what are all the
Mhm.
possible ways to get there. And it will, even if you don't go the exact path that you thought, you will still be making progress. Whereas staring at the stress in front of you very rarely gets you to where you're headed. It rarely does because it keeps you immobilized. Just like the analogy that you gave is so beautiful. Like it's like you're laid out in the floor in a giving up posture. If you could even just get to standing, that gets you a little bit further along. Oh,
Yeah.
this is so good.
I know. It's I know, absolutely. And I hate to cut our conversation short, but I know we have a time crunch that we're on, so I
Absolutely.
want to make
Yes.
sure I get to your book and the your chapter in the Brave Women at Work Lessons in Leadership book.
Yes.
And you know, Dr. Renika Briscoe is also has a chapter in this book. Like I
Yes.
said, check out her episode, check out the book, make sure y'all are purchasing the book. I'm gonna put the link in the show notes so that y'all can do that. But I just tell me about this book, tell me about your chapter and what you ladies are doing because I feel like it's phenomenal.
Yes. So Brave Women at Work, Lessons in Leadership is the third book in the series. And my chapter in this book is called Meet the Moment. And
Love
it's
it.
it's really akin to everything that we've been talking about today.
Yes, yes.
That when you are faced with a set of circumstances, you get to decide in that moment who you want to be and how you want to walk that out. And so without spilling all the tea about the book chapter, I will say that it covers my journey at an institution where we had to make some tough choices because our budgetary situation wasn't the best. And so we had to continually make these decisions and choices. And every step along the way, I had to meet the moment. Sometimes it was speaking truth to power. Sometimes it was saying, okay, let's not make that decision yet. Let me convene a group. Let's look at a variety of different options. Sometimes it's, okay, you just accepted the option that I didn't want. Now I need to figure out how do I still make sure to provide this particular service because now we have a different set of circumstances, or walking out all the details or putting in place an alternative way of being and then giving people the talking points, then to find yourself in a situation where oops, nobody looked at the talking points. And so you're the only one in the room who can address something, except it's not your environment, it's not your space. You're not supposed to be the one who is standing up in front of these 300 people giving these answers or answering these questions and yet feeling compelled to meet the moment. Now, seeking permission and doing the centering that I encourage people to do, like sometimes you just need to take a minute to
Hmm.
mumble a
Oh.
prayer, sing a little song, like, touch and
Yes,
agree with somebody, whatever centering
yes,
looks like for
yes.
you. And then sometimes you just have to step in, and it can be risky and it can feel dangerous. You can find yourself thinking, I'm going to be in big trouble from having done this. But for me, and I think for many of us, when I feel this compulsion to move, I cannot rest. I cannot
Mm.
not do
Yes,
it.
yes,
Right. And
yes,
so it goes back to that whole notion of, a bias for action and not just action for the sake of action, but it's almost like, this is the direction your instincts
yes,
kick in.
yes, yes.
Know this is the direction you're supposed to move in, or you need to challenge something, or no one else at that table is thinking the way you think, and so you need to speak in that moment. And so, what I do in this chapter is, in addition to weaving my own narrative and telling people my story, toward the end of that chapter, I also give people tips and pointers about how you meet the moment. So you almost get like your own little playbook about here's how you practice it because it's really muscle memory. Many of us have become so good at doing this because just like this whole conversation has talked about, we do it anyway. We push
Yes.
ourselves, or most people would say, "Never mind, I'm gonna go over here." We are the ones who say, "No, we're going forward. We're going to do this anyway." And so, so I think that this chapter really is about that. And it was a hard chapter to write. I find these chapters are always difficult to write because you want to honor the fact that so I want to honor the fact that these were tough choices to make. And my vantage point was a very different vantage point. And while I would have, I could have fought tooth and nail to say this is the absolute wrong decision. That's not what you do in these professional circles. I mean, you advocate, you speak truth to power, you do all the things that you need to do, but sometimes a decision is made, and when you're part of a structure, then you need to get behind that decision, and you need to do so with the right energy and the right spirit and with a affording the action kind of mentality. And so it was a joy to write the chapter. And the big news about this book is that we are, for the first time, going after Amazon bestseller status. So
Yes.
I've mentioned all the other books are, I said Amazon bestseller. All the books are Amazon bestseller. We're going
Mm-hmm.
after New York Times
Yes, yes,
bestseller. And
yes.
so we've learned a lot about this process. How many books you need to sell and all kinds of interesting things. And for me, I always approach it as a learning opportunity, so we've learned a ton. Gosh, I've learned more about marketing than I ever have. I don't have any marketing degree in my background, but I can generate a video. I've generated videos. I've pushed out all kinds of content because we want to give it our best effort. And even if we don't achieve the goal, incidentally, I hear we're only like maybe 1,000 copies from achieving the
Oh,
goal.
oh, y'all getting it. Y'all getting it.
That's how I feel too. I think we're
Y'all
getting
are
it.
getting it. It is a powerful team of women. Just the two that I know that are in this process. I know the capability of you women. Um, I'm in the background helping on Renika's team. I'm not a competitive person, but I also don't like to lose. So, y'all getting this.
Yes,
Y'all
I
getting
feel it
this. And
too.
I hope that every listener that's listening will, get the book. Just from you surmising your chapter alone, those tips to be in action. Because
Yes,
that's the difference maker. That is
it
the
is.
difference maker. That's the change maker. So if y'all are ready to make those changes, y'all need to get this book.
Get the book. And if you're not
Go
ready to
ahead
make the
and get the
changes,
book.
sign up for some coaching because I'm going
Right.
to get you moving on some things.
That look, we are action oriented. We are
Yes,
action
indeed.
oriented. When this airs, I'm actually hosting a it's to do to done workshop,
Yes.
because that is one of the things that everybody keeps like saying, like you say you're gonna do this thing, and then next thing I know you did this thing, and I'm like, because I was serious, like, like let's get it done, let's get it off the plate.
Yes.
And that doesn't mean that I don't have fear. It doesn't mean that I don't, have moments where I hesitate and I have to call myself out, like, girl, you've been said you were supposed to do this. Like, what's
Mhm.
the hold up? I have to sit and have those conversations and everything as well. But
Yes.
get these tips on how
Yes.
to switch to that mode and like stop being stuck where you are.
Agreed. Agreed.
Um, for the essence of time, I'm gonna ask you
Yes.
the wrap up questions, but
Yes,
we gonna
please.
have to do this again, my dear,
I would
because
so love it. We have so many
because
more things to talk
we have so
about.
many more things to say. We have so many more things to say. But so the first question is, tell me about your favorite pair of pajamas.
Yeah, so I had to decide between 2. I'm gonna go with these. I One Christmas, I bought these super soft black PJs, with a nice button-down top, but there was something about this fabric. It
Mm-hmm.
hangs nicely, a drawstring ribbon at the waist, and yet it has a little structure to it, so you got a nice little top with a collar, and
Mm-hmm.
something about putting on these PJs, it feels so luxurious to me. And I will
I
only
love
put
it.
those PJs on after I've had like a luxurious bath or a really nice shower with some sweet smelling things, because then I know I'm in deep relax mode. Love
Love
those
it.
PJs.
Love it. Love it. Love it. I'm feeling a whole scene and a vibe. And I absolutely love it. Okay, answer this question. My time freedom allows me to.
Yeah. So, first and foremost, to run a business. Literally, I run a whole business. I'm a vice president, and I still run a whole multi-line business. But the other thing it allows me to do is I love to travel. I love to travel and try new things and experience new places. And so my time freedom allows me to do that. And not just for me, but also for my family as well. If my husband decides he wants to go to some big football game someplace and then I can drop whatever I'm doing and go and join him,
Love
whether it's
it.
in Texas or North Carolina, or we went to the women's Final Four this
Okay.
past. Look, in Cincinnati, Ohio, I was like, "Oh, yeah, we're going." And we went and we were in the house when Dawn Staley picked up that championship, and there
Oh
was
my goodness.
nothing like it. And so my time freedom allows me to have quality time with my family and to travel and to have experiences and to live the life, honestly, a life that I never dreamed of, but I'm loving every second of it.
Beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, I love experiences. Like that's like I'm an
Yes.
experience girl. Okay, what's the best advice that you can give to anyone seeking the profits in pajamas lifestyle?
Yeah, great question. I think we stepped all over it in this conversation that shifting your mindset from the limitations and
Mm,
really embracing the notion that you don't have to know all the steps. You just need to know your next step. And if you continue to take those steps, then before you know it, you will have traveled much further than you ever anticipated and experience a life that is beyond your wildest dreams.
I love that. I love that. And I tell people all the time, everybody's just making the best choices of what's in front of them at the moment.
That's right. Yep.
We feel like other people have it more together than us. So they, this, that, and the other.
Hmm.
They just making the best choices. They don't know all the answers. You don't have to know all the answers.
That's right.
If you are open to admitting that,
Hmm.
you learn so much more.
You do. You do. And get curious, like get super curious. I mean,
Yes.
what did I know about New York Times bestseller? Zippo.
Right. But
Nothing.
but you about to hit it.
And we're about to hit it. And now we could potentially coach somebody else through it because we know it. It was the same was true a few years ago at the first Amazon bestseller. That group of women that I was with, we knew nothing about how to get Amazon bestseller status. But now we know it so well that every book that has come through is an Amazon bestseller because we now know how to work that formula. You can't take that knowledge away from us.
Mm-mm.
It's in there now.
I love it. I love it. And so if somebody wants to get in touch with you, what is the best way for them to get in touch with you? And is there anything, I know that, we talked about the book. Is there anything else that you want to share?
Sure. So again, we've stepped all over this too. I'm an executive and leadership transitions coach, and I coach around energy. And so we've touched upon, level one energy all the way up to we touched around level seven energy today. And I that the way I do that is I work with my clients, and instinctively I understand their energy. But we actually go through a tool, an assessment at the beginning of our coaching journey to understand what is your level of energy on a regular day when nothing's going wrong, and then what is your energetic stress reaction when life goes a little sideways, and then the coaching is around what do you do when you find yourself in your energetic stress reaction to get back to your regular way of moving through the world and even to get to higher levels of energy. So, love the coaching, love speaking. So, if any of this resonates and you're like, she needs to come and talk to my folks, willing to do that as well. For people that are even interested in being a part of a future book, Brave Women at Work will usually chew out from the next book. The next one is Lessons in Letting Go, and then there's one
Mm.
in the works after that as well. So, if anyone's interested in any of those things, the best place to find me is shigsbcoaching.com. You just type that into your search engine, and typically my website will pop right up. And there are places where you can click a button and schedule a discovery call. It'll bump you right onto my calendar. We'll get together, we'll chat, and see what's on your mind.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Thank you so much for being here, being a guest, sharing all of your wisdom with
Thank
us.
you.
I will put your information in the show notes so people can get to you easily. Um, I'm gonna put the book information in there. Y'all
Yes,
go get this
please.
book. Go get
Get
this
the
book.
book.
Get this book because I'm a, avid reader, and there's so much knowledge when
Absolutely.
you can learn from other people's experiences and their expertise. So get the book.
Get the
Um,
book.
and we gotta push our girls over the top for this. We have to push them over the top. We have to get this New York Times bestseller. So
Yes.
go get the book. Go get the book. That's my ask of you guys. If you don't do anything else, go get the book. Um, Thank you for being here, and we're gonna have to regroup and I mean, because there's so much left on this table of conversation between the two.
Absolutely.
So I know that I'm gonna see you again here. I'm, going to sign off and wish you all a wonderful week, and go get this book. You got, and don't wait. Get the book this week, next week, so that these ladies can cross this finish line
Yeah,
with this masterpiece that they've put together.
absolutely.
All
Thank you,
right, you
Coach.
guys.
Take care.
All right. Thank you for listening to the Profits in Pajamas podcast. I hope you got some great tips to start working with ease. Want to stay connected? Follow me at Your Workflow on Instagram. For more information about building your luxury brand, register for my upcoming luxury brand workshop at CoachDanniD.com.